Hello Tenno, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about Gyre Prime and her signature weapons Alternox and Kestel Prime. So Gyre Prime, she released with the old piece update, she came with Alternox and Kestel Prime, and she has slightly more higher stats like shields and energy and stuff. And she also has the Prime passive where when you're in a void mission, if you go around those like balls, like those dat balls that like has lasers on them, you gain 250 energy. So if you never played Gyre before or you never gotten Gyre before, let me quickly go over her kit, like what her abilities do. So her passive, Gyre's abilities have 10% chance to deal critical damage for each electrical status that affects the enemy. Now what's interesting to me that it says like critical damage, but I think this is critical chance as well because some of her abilities gradually start to red crit or orange crit when you have electricity procs on the enemies. So this can be like, I think maybe the abilities gain both critical damage and critical chance based on the electricity status on the enemy. So like either way, it's pretty sick. Let me change the build real quick. Her second ability, Coil Horizon, is usually a subsume slot, but wait, what? Oh, it's Arc Spear. My bad. Arc Spear is I kind of got too excited. So arc spear is you basically throw down a ball, and this ball, I think it pulses electricity with a time frame. Like, does it say damage second? I think it pulses every second, and it deals high damage on impact as well. And this electricity procs enemies. So this is probably one of the easiest abilities on Gyre you can get red crit, if not her 4. So this is like your main electricity proc or killing tool, besides your weapons, of course. And you can like spawn 3 of these at max, and each of them have their own duration. So you should keep an eye on those. Coil Horizon is I call it the bowling ability. You basically throw a ball. I think it groups up enemies when it blows up, but you can also manually explode it as well, which is pretty sick. And it deals a certain amount of electricity damage, but I don't think it can like nuke. Like I doubt it can nuke. But like I said, it's usually the subgem slot where you replace it with pillage because that lets her survive better if you're not adding to the shield gating mods. Cathode Grace is you gain a burst of critical chance and energy gain, and each kill increases the duration. What's interesting is like if you fail to kill enemies and the duration runs out, the ability goes to duration as well. What that means is you see like the duration is 8 seconds, and each kill adds 3 seconds to it. If you fail to kill enemies and that 8 seconds run out, the ability goes to like a 60-second cooldown. So how you can what's the strat on this is you start the countdown, you kill enemies to increase it to 1 minute, and let's say you fail to kill enemies and 1 minute ran down, and now the ability ran out of duration. But if you stack it up that high, if you were going for that long and you accidentally make it run out, the ability will already be ready for you to recast. So you kind of try to manage your cooldowns like that. Like you try to kill enemies, so at least if you ever run out of cooldowns, the ability will be ready to go again. Because like I said, the ability has a 60-second duration, and that 60-second duration counts down even while you're still using the ability and killing enemies to get stay longer. So that's kind of cool. And I'm pretty sure it's critical chance. I think that maybe that burst increased critical chance adds up to the passive. I don't know. Like maybe it gives your abilities critical chance as well. The energy regen is also cool, but I use Arcane Energize with it and Archon Stretch, which I will show you guys later when I show up the build. Also, one thing to note, I don't have a beginner build for Gyre. I kind of failed to do one, so apologies in advance. Rotor's Well is also interesting ability. Basically, you create like a electricity aura around you that electrifies enemies already, but when you hit a critical shot, it rains down lightning strikes on your enemies. And her third ability also has an augment where it can help this ability, which I will talk about soon. Because as you can see, this ability has a set duration, and even though it's recastable, that can kind of make her gameplay clunky. But like I said, when I mentioned the augment mode, it will all make sense that why you need it and why the duration doesn't matter. So my build is pretty basic. I use the important augment called cathode current. What that does is basically cathode current. Whenever you kill enemies while in your turret ability, it makes your fort ability have extra charge, and it will have 200% extra strength, and it also increases the duration of your fort ability rotor swell, the same amount of your third ability. So basically, as long as you're killing enemies, your fourth ability and third ability will always have infinite duration, or whatever is the max duration. Because of this, cathode current is a staple augment mode you should always have in your Gyre builds. How can you get this? You can get this from the syndicates you unlock starting from Mastery Rank 3. The two syndicates that have this augment mode are Arbiters of Hexes and the Parent Sequence. The augment mod costs 25,000 standing, and you gain standing by playing regular game modes, missions, all that stuff. So rest of the build is really simple. I use Archon Stretch. You can get this mod from call missions in your Drifter camp. I use a shield gating build with Vigilante Vigor, Fast Deflection, and Aegis. I use Primed Flow, Blind Rage, and Streamlined because Blind Rage kind of cuts down your efficiency. So to get efficiency, I get Streamline. And like I said, I use Pillage for survivability. Even though I'm using a shield gating build, Pillage is that extra armor strip and insta shield gain. You can use different ways to play her. I like this is not like be all and all kind type of build. You can maybe use like Shock Trooper from Vault or maybe something else that is unique. Like it's all up to you. Like it doesn't, like I said, it's not an end all be all type of build. And the shield gating mods are Fast Deflection and Vigilant Vigor. Instead of Blind Rage, you can use Transient Fortitude, but Transient Fortitude then cuts off your duration. Archon Stretch, like I said, you can get from call missions. Even though I'm using Arcane Energize, like it's still a mod that's like if you're using abilities that have electricity damage, you gain energy per second. So like I said, I'm just energy maxing with my Gyre. I mean, it's like +2 energy over 5 seconds, so yeah. And Energize usually gives that boost. But like I said, if you don't have Energize, if you don't have Archon Stretch, you can either use Equilibrium or just rely on your third ability because third ability also gives you a bunch of energy. So let me just spawn some enemies to see how your gameplay usually gonna be. You're gonna have like little amount of energy. You're gonna throw your wand to get that electricity procs. If you get energy from Archon Stretch, you go 3 and 4 and then start killing enemies. Now I'm using Alternox Prime, so the damage is not that good, but even though you can see that with each electricity proc, the crit damage and critical chance for my abilities are starting to increase, and there's also lightning bolts coming from the sky, which is my fourth ability. And as long as I'm killing, as you can see, the durations are getting increased. And that's basically how we're gonna do it, Gyre. Like I'm using Pillage here because it cleanses all status effects on me, like heat or viral or toxin. And yeah, you just manage your cooldowns. You can use Pillage to survive, cleanse, and gain your shields back. And that's how our gameplay loop is. She's a pretty cool DPS electricity Warframe with insane amount of critical chance. So, then let's go over the Alternox Prime. So, Alternox Prime is a primary weapon. It's like an assault rifle. The regular stats of Alternox are 14% critical chance, 2.2 critical damage, and 30% status chance with electricity and a total damage of 74.4. It's not a bad weapon. It's a trash weapon. I'm gonna be honest. Alternox sucks. It has some interesting interactions with certain arcanes, which carries over to the Prime. But like, even though I have a ribbon for it as well, I don't like this weapon that much. It doesn't perform all that well, and only time it performs well, it's with a certain arcane that I will talk about later. So when we look at the stats of Alternox Prime gains 20% critical chance, the same critical damage, increased fire rate, the status chance jumps to 40%, and total damage becomes 90. And it seems like the magazine's kind of increased as well. It's neat, I suppose. And this weapon has a special passive connected to Gyre, and it also has a passive on its own. The passive is that when you click the alt fire, it shoots a sphere that pulses electricity damage before exploding, and it has 20% multi-shot while being wielded by Gyre. Now, this sphere is not that good because I used it with her abilities and I used it with like other stuff as well, but it doesn't seem like it can increase, like you can increase it critical chance, maybe at most yellow, but like it doesn't do enough damage either. I mean, yes, I'm using this against heavy gunners, which are usually tougher than your average Grenier or Corpus, but still, like, it's not that good, man. I'm using my third ability to give it more critical chance as well, but like, even though you can like get damage buffs and red crits from Gyre, maybe then it can kill, but yeah, I don't like Alternox Altfire that much. It can be useful maybe with Zephyr, because Zephyr's tornado combo is broken, but yeah. So, my build is for mid game to late game. We have classic stuff such as Galvanized Aptitude, Galvanized Chamber, Critical Delay, Rhyme Rounds, Prime Shred for the punch through, so I don't like waste all my bullets on one guy, Magnetic Capacity for increased magazine capacity, because that is for the Arcane I'm using, which is our primary plated rounds. What primary plated round does is, when I reload, I deal damage based on the magazine size. What that means is this weapon has like 59 bullets because I increased it with magnetic capacity. When I reload this weapon from empty, for all those 59 bullets I have in the magazine, it will give me a certain amount of damage buff, like 300% or 265%. For some reason, this works really well with Alternox, even though the bullet amount is low. It can make this weapon's damage jump a lot. And trust me, I tried other weapon arcanes such as primary deadhead, primary merciless. They don't work, like, because they need a ramp up, and Alternox's base damage cannot even get that ramp up. Maybe with serration, like, I don't think this weapon can even suffer from diminishing returns because how like low damage it is, like almost worse than Higasa Kome's signature primary rifle. But yeah, so, primary plated rands are the best choice in my opinion. How can you get this arcane? You can get this from Deimos arcane packages. You can open with Phosphor from Sanctum and Atomica. If you don't have that unlocked, you'll have to farm Mars Mirror Defense game mode that I forgot its name. It's where you get citrine from. I'm pretty sure one of the vendor rewards, like you can go to the O-Tag in Deimos and you can buy plated rounds from him as well. But the citrine farm is horrible. So just wait for until you unlock Sanctum and Atomica so you can open those phosphor packs for this. And if you have some spare plat, you can buy this with plat as well. I don't know how much platinum this arcane is, and I don't think it's worth it to buy this with platinum because farming it is easy. Anyways, and as I mentioned, Prime Shred helps this as well because when you have punch through, all of this damage boost not only goes to the enemy in front of you, also the bunch of enemies that are behind it as well. That's why I use Prime Shred. You can only get Prime Shred from daily login, if I remember correctly. I don't think you can buy it. And Galvanize after the Galvanize Chamber like on kill effect, so you win more. Now, let's say you're a new player, and let's think like how would you build this? Of course, none of these mods, like, I'm not expecting you to have max of it. Like even like half level or 3 levels like will be good. You're gonna be using Serration and then Point Strike. Then you will be using, like, if you get Speed Trigger as well. If you get access to Shred or any of these Vigilante mods, or like if you or like Critical Delay or Vital Sense, it will be kind of nice. I don't know how do you get like vital sense. I know critical delay is from corrupted mod vaults, which you can find in Deimos missions. Like if you find the person who's running these corrupted vaults, run along them. If you don't, if you have a dojo, a clan, you can go to their dojo, go to the Oracle lab, and get those blueprints for the 4 dragon keys, which you will have to equip all 4 because you don't know which keys to unlock which vault. And then you have to find the vault in the mission as well, so that's another headache. So if you ever have a friend that likes farming corrupted vaults, maybe hang on with them to get the critical delay. That's the only way most of the time, or you can just farm it yourself. Split chamber, I don't know how you get that early on as well, but like if you can get your hands on split chamber as well, that would be really awesome. But I think I'm starting to remember. Both Vital Sense and Split Chamber mods can be earned through playing the game. Defense mission, the circuit can have it sometimes, and the enemies can drop both Split Chamber and Vital Sense. So just pray to RNG gods that you can get your hands on these early on. Magnetic capacity drops from 1999 missions, so you're gonna have to do a lot of quests to get there. So I'm not mentioning that. If you get Malignant Force and Rhyme rounds early on, that would be nice, but Malignant Force drops from Void missions if you fight Corrupted War, and Rhyme rounds, I believe, is a spy mission mod. So if you don't have those, don't worry, you can just use Cryo rounds and Infected Clip, and boom. This is what an early game build will probably look like for Alternox. So with only reinforced bond buff on my sentinel and no sentinel weapon, the first mag gonna suck. And again, I'm using this against heavy gunners. But the moment that plated rounds proc, you start to see the damage. It's increasingly increasing. And when you're fighting regular enemies, you will see a better performance because, like I said, heavy gunners are tougher than regular enemies. But even then, I'm using no abilities, and it starts to shred through enemies. And since I'm using Prime Shred, it also punch throughs the enemies behind it, so you should be able to deal with crowds easier. You can also get regular Shred from playing the game as well. So you don't have if you don't have Prime Shred, just use regular Shred. Same logic, same performance. I mean, similar performance, not the same because regular Shred will have lower punch through, obviously. All right, so we get to Kestrel Prime. The regular Kestrel this is a glaive, one of the durable melee weapons. I don't play this class that much, so my build might be a little bit bad. So if you have a better build for Kestrel Prime that you use, you can let me know in the comments. Like, I'm open to criticization with my builds. You can criticize my Kestrel build, my Alternox, my Gyre build. I'm fine. You can always let me know in the comments. Also, if you're enjoying the video so far, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I also make a short about this video too. Gotta let people know. So, the regular Kestrel has 10% critical chance, 2 times critical damage, and 10% status chance. And the total damage is 84. With Kestrel Prime, however, this stats jump. Kestrel Prime has 20% critical chance, 40% status chance, and 210 increased damage compared to the 84 of regular Kestrel, which is insane. But considering that most damage up is from impact, I don't know how to feel about this. Like, maybe you can make a shattering impact build or like whatever there's like a impact mod that gives you stash perks, but I don't know slash perks, but I don't know if like that will work with this because the weapon must have a lot of impact for that, like almost no slash because the weapon already has slash, so I don't think it will work that well. The unique trait of this weapon that it can bounce up to 8 times. I'm using volatile quick return to -4 bounces, so each bounce blows up. It cancels punch through, and yes, I'm using power throw, which has punch through, but canceling punch through, I don't know if that matters that much because with power throw, it's more like every consecutive throw I do increases damage by 100%, and I believe that's up to 300% because it says stacks 3 times. So, like I said, I might have built this wrong. I use Amalgam Organ Shatter. You can get this from a boss in the future. I'm not gonna mention it because it's a spoiler. I'm using Condition Overload, Voltaic Strike, Volcanic Edge, and Vicious Frost because, it's a classic influence build. And I use Galvanized Steel. Yeah, you might use Carnage Mandible if you want, adding more status chance, because I don't think this is much of a crit weapon. You can also use Galvanized Reflex or Corrupt Charge for combo counter. But yeah, like, I don't know. For a starter build, I I'm not sure what like cook for starter builds, because like glaives starter builds, I don't know how they work. Like I started using glaives when I was in the mid game to end game, so I have no clue how we can build this weapon really well in the early game. So like I said, you can let me know. And yes, this is another influence build, because Blast Electricity, I saw a Blast Electricity build on this on YouTube, and it seems really fun. It seems really funny. Now, when I tried this without any primers, though, yeah, like I kind of ragdoll the heavy gunners, but I'm not killing much. This is probably gonna do better against regular enemies, and if you group them up with, Nautilus's Cordon or Cora's abilities or any other grouping utility tool you have. So yeah, the performance might look really bad here. I, you probably in live gameplay this will look better. So as I mentioned in my Warframe 2025 Rewind video that is in my channel, I like Gyre Prime. It was the last release of 2025 and she's pretty cool. I already liked her kit and I still think I should give her more chance to play because I don't play her much because she's a walking nuclear reactor and that can get boring in time. Well, I generally enjoy her gameplay still. Like she's still fun even though she can get boring. She's one of the coolest electricity-based warframes besides Volt. I like her abilities. I like the chain reaction she can cause, and the critical chance on abilities is also pretty sick. Her release weapons, I mean her prime weapons that release with her are also pretty cool. Even though I think Alternox Prime still needs more love, I still think it needs more buffs maybe to its basic damage, because its default damage, like its basic damage, still feels lackluster. And Castle Prime is a fun addition to the Glaive class. I really like it. I don't know if it can surpass other glaives like Glaive Prime itself or Zor's, but I can see the potential of it because the 8 bounces are really funny and the Blast Electricity usually works, so you can go Viral Electricity and Influence again. Influence being a strong arcane can also add even more strength to this weapon's power. So overall, Gyre Prime is a really fun Warframe. I suggest you pick this up. And yeah, that's all for the video. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.